If you're a photographer who's feeling overwhelmed with studio lighting, today I'm going to simplify it for you by teaching you a really simple one light setup. You don't need a lot of equipment and you don't need a lot of gear, but you're going to instantly elevate your photography using this setup. So let's get into it. Hey guys, I'm Carl Soda. Welcome back to my channel. I take the influence out of photography and I focus on what makes you money, not what makes you spend it. And today I'm going to teach you my ultimate one light setup. Now this is a light setup I often use, particularly if I have to go on location to a client's workplace or their office. And there's a couple of reasons for that. Firstly, it doesn't require a heap of equipment, which makes it a lot easier for me going to and from the shoot. Secondly, it's not going to take up a huge amount of space in the client's workplace. Often I'm working in office spaces or boardrooms and there isn't a heap of space, so you're going to really overwhelm the client if you start moving all the furniture around and bringing in all this production equipment. And then the last thing is it always achieves the same consistent results, so I know that my client's going to be really happy with the photos that we capture. First, I'm going to show you guys the light recipe that we're learning today, and don't worry, I can already hear you through the screen saying, Carly, what on earth is a light recipe? Well, in short, it's just a lighting plan. Lighting recipe, lighting plan, same. I call it a recipe, some people call it a plan, you can call it whatever you want. Essentially, all you're doing is firstly outlining all the equipment that you need, so it can then become a bit of a checklist. And also you're helping anyone else that's going to be on set with you know exactly what's going on, so they can help you set it up. And also you know that you're going to get the results that you want. Why? Because this lighting recipe is consistent and you know exactly what the outcome will be prior to you setting up for the shoot. I prepare all of my lighting recipes in Adobe Illustrator, and if you guys aren't comfortable with Illustrator, you can achieve a similar thing in Canva. Basically, all you're doing is preparing a plan so that you can refer back to it and you can remember exactly what you did for that setup. And if you pay attention at the end of this video, I actually have a book coming out where you can download all of my lighting recipes, but more on that later. Now we're going to talk about the equipment that we're using in this light recipe and also address that pretty pink elephant in the room about what gear you need to immediately rush out and go and buy. Now I am the last person that's going to influence you guys to go and buy equipment, but there is always a caveat. When it comes to lighting, you really do get what you pay for, and often the stuff that's at the cheaper end is rubbish. So before you rush off and buy equipment, let's first talk through what we're using and why you guys might consider buying this. In today's light recipe, we are using a strobe and we are using a beauty dish as well as a 150 octabox. Now these are light modifiers that I personally prefer, and there's a couple of reasons for that. A beauty dish you cannot go wrong with. It's always going to give you that really cool crisp image. You're going to have a lot of contrast in the shadows, but it's still really flattering on the face. But if you want the ultimate in soft flattering light, the 150 octabox will never disappoint. This one is my go-to, particularly if I have mature clients. So let's talk about lights for a second, because as I mentioned, you get what you pay for. There's two types of lights. We have our strobes, which are lights that flash, and then we have continuous lights. Let's look at strobes first. Now strobes are always going to be my #1 recommendation for photographers because you can cancel out any ambient light and then totally control the scene. So what do I mean by that? Well, ambient light refers to any light that's around the scene right now without having any lights on. So ambient light might be the sun, it might be any light that's reflecting from, lighting in the room. And often when it comes to lighting a portrait, we want to cancel out that light because it's unflattering and it's ugly, and we want to control the light and use our light. So how do we control ambient light? Well, we adjust our settings. So maybe you're turning your aperture up, you might sit around like f8, even higher, and then you're going to use your flash to put the light where you want it to go. I promised you guys a really simple tutorial, so I don't want to go too into the equipment side of things. I just want to touch on things. So if you want a much deeper dive into equipment, let me know in the comments below, and I'm happy to make that video. Now let's have a look at continuous lights, and they are exactly what they say they are. They are lights that are always on, and this is what videographers use because they need that constant source of light. There's a couple of issues when it comes to photography and continuous lights. One, you need to always have a power source because they're usually using a chunk of power. You can get some more portable options, but the batteries will die very quickly. Two, They can be really bright, particularly if you're trying to overpower ambient light. And when you're someone that's sitting in front of a continuous light, like I am right now, having that large light source just in your eye the whole time can get really annoying and make you really hot. And then your client's getting uncomfortable and you're getting ugly photos. And we don't really want that. So which one should you be buying and how much should you be spending? Well, I can't give you that answer, to be honest. Like I said, I can give you recommendations, but there are so many different things we need to consider. If you are someone that wants to do both video and photos, you're gonna need continuous lights. And it doesn't make sense to pour your money into 2 sets, unless you're rich. And if you're rich, do your worst, go after it. But if you're someone that's trying to be a little bit more economical and not spend all of your money, maybe go towards the continuous lights. However, if you are someone that is mostly focused on photography, I am going to steer you in the direction of strobes because they are less expensive and they cancel out all the ambient light and you have way more control on set. So how much should you be spending? Well, how long's a piece of string? There's a lot of options now. I myself have Godox lights. I find them really reliable. You can often get sets where you'll get 2 lights, 2 stands and 2 softboxes, and that's a really good starting off point. There's some really good entry-level brands now. Newer are great, Jinbei are great. As I said, I've got Godox and I can't complain. But then of course you start to go into the more professional realm. You've got Allen Chrome, you've got Profoto, and if you're bougie, you might buy yourself some Broncolor. Lights are where you put your money. Lighting modifiers don't matter so much. I use Newer. I get most of my lighting modifiers off Amazon. My beauty dish is Godox, and these things are relatively inexpensive. And to be honest, they get beaten up so much that I probably wouldn't put a lot of money into them anyway. This is Helen. Helen, say hello.
Hi.
Helen is the makeup artist I regularly work with on most of my personal branding and corporate shoots. And today we're shooting her personal branding shoots. So Helen, as a makeup artist, she's also a stylist. So the brief is, what is the brief?
The brief is to create gorgeous branding for myself as a makeup artist and a stylist to showcase my skills and make women feel welcome.
So we need to make sure you feel welcome, otherwise it will show in the photos. Helen and I are always behind the camera, which is why when we're in front of the camera, like I'm a bit bleh and she's a bit bleh. So today you just have to bear with us. All right guys, so as you can see, I do have overhead lights on and we've also got a light on for the video that we're filming right now. So what we're gonna need to do is expose for the ambient light to make sure we're blocking that light off. Obviously, when I'm using the continuous light for video, it is going to impact the scene a little bit, but we can compensate by turning our aperture up so that we are blocking out any of the available light. I also have a window open here that you guys can't see off the screen that is bringing light into the scene. So the best thing we can do in a setup like this is to change our aperture to eliminate all of that ambient light. So I'm probably gonna be shooting on about f8 to make sure it's nice and dark. And the way I know I'm doing the right thing, I fire off a shot. If the screen is black, perfect. I have killed all the ambient light. So I'm gonna talk you through the placement. As you can see, we've got the backdrop set up, and on the side, if I move the camera around, you'll see we have 2 white polyboards that are going to be bouncing the light back at Helen. So what I've done is I've set up my beauty dish here, and it is about 1.5 meters from her. And as you can see, it's at a 45-degree angle. So it's just above her head, tilting down to give her a nice crisp frame. And if I take a shot, I'm going to fire one off, chin down for me. And I show you on the screen what that test looks like. You can see that we've got some nice shadow there on the side of her face, but her eyes are nice and bright. And as you can see, even though it is a harsher light, we do have that nice feathering off the shadow on the backdrop there. That's really pretty. Stay there. I'm just gonna a little bit of hair.
Because I don't have me on that side, so
correct.
You have to be me today.
I am you, I am me, I am everyone. All right.
Photography, videographer.
Stylist. That looks really pretty. Chin down a bit. Nice. Mouth open just a little. So as you can see, it's a relatively simple setup. I mean, I'm photographing Helen in bare feet in my house with one light, and I'm still getting really beautiful photos. But you may have noticed the polyboards or the white V-flats. What do you do if you don't have access to them? Well, all they're doing is just reflecting back a little bit of light so that Helen has a bit more brightness on the side of her face. If you don't have access to them, it's not the end of the world, but if you want to try some economical options, you could try a white sheet or some white cardboard. They'll give you a very similar effect. Now, I showed you how to use this light recipe with the paper roll as the backdrop. You don't have to have the paper roll. You could just use a wall, or it doesn't matter where you are. The light is going to work the same way. The only thing you need to take into consideration is how bright or dark the background is behind your subject. Obviously, if it's darker, you're not going to get that same lightness. It's going to affect the mood of the photo. So that's just something to consider. Now, you heard me mention the 150 octabox, and unfortunately I don't have footage of me swapping over to that on this set, but I'm going to show you what the photos look like between the beauty dish and the 150 octabox. All you have to do is swap them over and you're going to get a subtly different look. As I've mentioned, the 150 octabox gives you that really flattering light. Now I'm going to walk you guys through a collection of images I've taken using this exact same light recipe. I'll put on screen here what modifier I've used, and you can see I get a fairly consistent look. The only thing that changes is just how soft and diffused the light is depending on which modifier I've chosen. The only other thing we need to consider here is the power of the strobe. Now, this is totally dependent on how much light is in the room, what your settings are, and there's no set recipe. So this is something I know a lot of people fixate on. You know, what was your shutter speed? What was your ISO? What was your aperture? And the answer is it's going to be different depending on how far away you are from your subject, how powerful your lights are, and also the colors of the backdrop and whether or not you're using V-flats. There's so many variables, so I can't give you an exact recipe. All I can say is experiment, just play around. When it comes to the power of your light, obviously start with the lower setting first, see what that gives you, and then adjust from there. Now, if you're still feeling a little bit overwhelmed, the best thing you guys can do is to actually have a crack at this. So grab a light, put it in front of your subject and just change your angles and move it around and see how the light's affecting the photo. There is no set recipe, there is no set rule, this is just a guide. What's next is for you to have a bit of fun and just explore. I feel like when it comes to lighting tutorials, I could talk for hours, and I'm really conscious of not overwhelming you for the sake of a YouTube video. But if you guys would like a much deeper dive into this, I'm more than happy to film a shoot from start to finish, and you can see how I'm setting things up, how I'm posing my model, how I talk to my model. But that would be a pretty tedious video. It's probably gonna go for an hour, but I'm happy to do it. If you want me to do that video, let me know. But hopefully this is giving you a bit of an overview of how I work on set. So that is it for this video, guys. I hope you have found it somewhat helpful and you can see just what you can achieve with a very small amount of equipment. Now, as I mentioned to you, I have a book of light recipes, which I have just finished writing. It's called Illuminate and it's now available for download. The link is in the description box below. Inside, you've got a collection of light recipes. You've got all the information you could possibly need to know about lighting and what to look for as a photographer. So if that interests you at all, click the link in my description box below and you can automatically download it. So there you have it, guys. That is my one light setup, and I hope you've learned something from this video that you can go and apply in your own practice. As always, please like, subscribe, comment, drop any suggestions for future videos in the comment section below. I love doing tutorials, but I normally do it in person, so trying to put it all on camera and organize everything and have B-roll and models can be a bit difficult, but I will do it if that's what you guys want. Let me know what you thought in the comments below, and I will see you in the next one.